So it'll be all about strategy and intentionality today in your career search.
And if you have questions, put them in the chat. We can try to open it up later on. We have, I think, about 60 people here right now, so it's a lot easier to monitor the chat. Any questions after that would be, greatly appreciated. So you have access to the screen, and I'll monitor the chat for any questions that come up.
Okay, let me get it switched over.
Nice.
Can you all see my screen? Okay.
Yes.
And here we go. Let's see.
Yes, we see it.
Okay. So thank you everybody for joining today. Again, I am Camicia Clark. And today we are talking about intentionality in career search. Today's talk will be interactive, and if you don't already, please grab a pencil and some paper if you're in a position to do so, because I'm going to walk you through a brief exercise that will help you on your career search with being intentional and strategic.
So, Camisa, will this presentation be available later on if people want it?
Sure.
Okay, cool. Sorry to interrupt.
And by the end of the session today, you will discover the importance of strategy and intentionality. You will know why you must clearly articulate your contributions, and hopefully you will have considered the idea of creating your own job search strategy.
Yeah.
So a little bit about me. I'm Camicia. I've been in human resources for about 17 years now, and I've been in just about every industry you could possibly think of. And the reason I do this, and the reason I help, and the reason I care is because I have been unemployed 6 times in the past 8 years. Due to different workplace shutdowns and different reorganizations. So, last year when the pandemic hit and people were getting laid off and people were stressing out, for me, it wasn't as not urgent, but it wasn't as traumatic for me initially because I had already been laid off so many times, right? I was used to it. So I figure who better to help those who are now in situations in which they've never been in before, who can better help them than me, right? Because I'm prepared. I have a strategy. I know that different things happen in workplace shutdown and those types of things. And when they happen, I have a plan in order to get myself back employed and to continue to be employable. So when we are career searching, there are several different stages that I believe career searchers go through. And basically I use fear to describe them. There is, different feelings and emotions that you're going to have. There's frustration. You may be emotionally drained, right, from the continued search process, the constant applying. Most people are trying to apply every single day to every single job so that they can be considered. And then there's the rejection, right? So if you're applying, you're going to be rejected at some point, but that is normal. There's nothing wrong with you. That is just a part of the career search process. And what happens with the fear is that sometimes it paralyzes us, right? Sometimes we are stuck in any of those stages to the point that we just may not know what to do or where to go next or what route to take. So we feel stuck, right? And when we're stuck, oftentimes we don't take the action that we need to take. So today's purpose is to help you take that action and to be prepared and have a little less fear on your career search journey. So how are you feeling today? How is your job search journey? Oh, sorry guys. My phone rang. Hold on, let's get us back to where we were. Okay, so how are you feeling in your job search journey? If you could type that in the chat. for me. Let me know how you feel. Do you feel stuck? Do you feel frustrated? Are you having an amazing search, right? Maybe you are happy. Maybe you're getting the responses that you need. How is it that you're feeling as you are embarking upon this job search journey?
Exhausted, getting drained, numb, frustrated,
Right, right.
feeling down, like it's Groundhog Day every day, not good, stuck, and challenging. Those are some of the comments in here.
Yes, thank you. Yes, and those are all very normal feelings and reactions to have, right? Job searching is a job, right? And it is emotionally and mentally and sometimes physically draining. So if you're on a job search, I know that it's not like you're just at home doing nothing. You are working, whether you're working your mind or whatever it is, you are working. So know that you're not alone. That is a normal feeling. But what I want to help you do is I want to help you. Um, Oops, I think I missed it. I want to help you get from where you are today, right? Where you're starting. So most of us may be here, right? Just waiting for somebody to give us an opportunity or a chance. And I want to help us get here where we are negotiating our own job offers, where we are able to speak to what it is that we want, what we need as it relates to our career search. So here we go. So if you aren't getting the responses that you need, right? You're feeling stuck, maybe you're applying and people aren't calling you back. It's because the market is extremely competitive. On average, it's about 250 to 300 resumes received per job. So that means that we are all competing against each other and against, hundreds of other people and against hundreds of other people. So what we have to do is be clear about what we need. What we have to do is have a strategy and a plan so that instead of just randomly applying or just applying to everything that says that has the job title that you're seeking, that we're being more strategic, that we are doing more of a quality job search versus a quantity job search. Okay. And guys, excuse me, I have a little tiny baby over here. So he's apparently fussing right now. So part of what we're going to do today is if you have your paper, if you have your pencils, I want you to start creating your strategy. Okay. So I want you to think about you. What do you want to do? And your next role for your next opportunity, what are some things that you definitely want to do? Think about past experience, past jobs. What did you truly like doing? Um, think about your assignments, your responsibilities, your tasks, and don't think too hard. Just whatever comes to mind, I want you to kind of brain dump it. Just write those things down, maybe 3 to 5 things that you want to do, you want to include inside of your next opportunity. And once we have those things, the next part of it is, what do you never, ever want to do again? It's important that we know what we want to do and what we don't want to do, and that we're able to um, clearly know what we don't want to do. Because if we start accepting positions out of desperation, or we start accepting positions with the responsibilities that we know that we're not interested in, that we know don't bring us joy, then we're not going to be happy in that role, and we're ultimately going to be looking for a new role again pretty quickly, because it's going to contain the things that we don't want to do. So think about those things that that immediately came to your head when I said never want to do again. Write those down really quickly. And those are things that we're going to, first of all, remove from your resume. If those things are listed on your resume and you don't want to do them, take them off, because those are the things that people are usually going to hone in on and call you about. So make sure that you just remove those things if you don't want to do them. Okay. The next step And the process is to think about 3 companies. I want you to think about 3 companies that you are interested in working for. And maybe it's because it's a company that you have patronized. So maybe you use their products and you shop there. Or maybe it's a company that you've had an experience where you've gotten great service. Or maybe it's a company that does great things in the community. Think about things that are important to you, and I want you to think about 3 companies that you know right now that you would love working for. Even if you haven't researched them yet, even if you haven't had any interaction with anybody at those companies, just list those companies down. And then the next question is, what kind of leader do you want to work for? I want you to write down, 2 to 3 characteristics of the type of leader that you want to work for. And then put that in the chat box. Put what type of leader it is that you have an interest in working for. Who do you work best with? Because that's also important.
Supportive, I see. Respectful. Transparent, empowering, fair, friend, connected to all levels, servant leader who doesn't micromanage, empathetic, inclusive and empowering.
Absolutely. Those are all great characteristics of leadership. And knowing that that's what you like, now you know how to target your questions as it relates to leadership. So if you're looking for a leader who isn't going to micromanage, you need to make sure that inside of your interviews that you have questions that are going to help you find out if that leader is a micromanager, right? So just knowing that, we're going to move to the next question is, what kind of leader do you want to be? What kind of leader do you want to be? And even if you're not in a leadership role, right, that says manager or supervisor or something like that, director, you can still be a leader inside of the role that you're in. So how are you going to lead? What type of leader do you want to be?
Respected, trustworthy, lead by example,
Oftentimes,
empathetic.
oftentimes we want to be the same type of leader that we want to work for, right? Because we do that, the whole, I treat others like I want to be treated. So, we oftentimes relate to or lean towards those that have similar characteristics to ourselves. And that's nothing wrong with that, but that really will help you target your questions, because it's very important that you're asking those questions inside of your interviews. And sometimes people forget to ask about those questions. You're so excited, you have other things on the brain, and you forget to really interview the leader, because the interview is a two-way conversation, right? You're interviewing them and they're interviewing you. So you want to make sure that you find a fit for you. Intentionality is all about not just being what the company needs, but also getting what you need. And then the next thing I want you to do is think about what's important to you. Culture, what does that look like? Are you somebody who absolutely cannot sit inside of a cubicle? You have to have an office, right? Like, are you somebody who has to have 5 weeks of vacation? What does it look like to you in that role? Does diversity matter? Does the community service piece of it matter? How does that company need to show up so that you'll be proud to work there, so that it relates to your cultural and ethical um, um, sorry.
Life work balance, culture, and close to home location.
Mhm. Perfect. Sounds like you guys are getting this exercise, because the whole purpose of this, and when I coach people and when I help them and when I write resumes and when I'm working with people, I am teaching them to think about themselves. Oftentimes we don't think about ourselves. We're normally, we need a job, we need a job. And we aren't always focused on what we need, right? I have a baby.
Do you need to take care of yourself? Do you need to take care of your
He's
child?
taking care of, he's talking.
Okay, all right, just wanted to check.
Oh, I'm letting, hold on. Okay. And oftentimes we don't take care of ourselves. We don't think about what we need, right? We don't think about the needing something close to home. We don't think about the hours. Everybody isn't as flexible. We don't think about the time that they're going to give us off, right? Having a new child, you're going to have to go to a lot of doctor's appointments. So it's those types of things that we have to think about inside of our head. Thank you. Okay. And next, one of the questions that is oftentimes asked inside of an interview is, why should we hire you? And sorry guys, hold 1 second. Who give me that fireplace? Thank you. Our next I want a game show. Our next part of what we're going to do today is we are going to create a 10 to 15 second, I don't really call it an elevator pitch. I call it a factual brag. We're going to create a 10 to 15 second statement that we can make about ourselves, so that when we're targeting it towards different people, we know exactly what we want to say. Because I also want us to formulate perception. Perception is key. Perception is everything, people say, right? So I want us to create our own perceptions. I want people to only think about what we are teaching them and training them to think about us. Okay, so we're going to start putting great things out in the atmosphere, great things out in conversation, great things out in meetings and phone interviews about us. And those are the things that people are going to start to repeat. Those are the things that people are going to start to identify us as. Okay. So when you see this question, why should we hire you? What happens? Is this something that you can answer right now? Do you feel like you know this answer, or do you kind of freeze up? Do you not really know what to say, right? Or not really know how to
Really
say?
distracting.
Okay. Now the way that we are going to do this exercise is that I'm going to, let me now show you something different. 1 second. I'm just going to switch up my screen. Okay. Now I've created a factual brag guidebook, which you all can have today. I am more than willing and happy to give this to you, but this is a way for you to craft that 10 to 15 second statement or statements. It's going to be multiple statements. And the reason for that is because you're going to be targeting them towards different people. So the factual brag it's they're true statements that you say about yourself, but they're impactful. So for example, let's say you were working, right? And if someone came to you, normally they would ask you, hey, what are you doing? Right? What are you doing? You look busy today. What are you doing? And normally, wait, can you see my screen? Let's see. Hold on.
Do you want me to take over the presentation while you're mute? Would that help?
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
We
Okay.
can see a screen, but not the screen that I think you want to share, right?
Oh, hold on. Let me see.
Right.
That's the problem. Can you see now?
What do you want to show?
My screen.
We see
Just why should we hire you?
Oh, it's not switching. New
Right.
share. Hold on. Da-da-da. What about now?
Example one.
Yes, perfect. Thank you. So if someone comes to you and they say, hey, you look busy, what are you doing today? Normally we may say, oh, I'm just finishing up a project, right? Not giving a lot of information or context, just, saying I'm working, I'm busy, right? But I want us to change that. I want us to give more of an impactful statement, something that they can remember, something that's going to wow them, and something that they can take back and start telling other people. Okay. So let's say, for an example, this one, you can say, I arrived 2 hours early to work daily to review the driver schedules and check the employee call line to ensure that staffing is confirmed prior to the 10 a.m. customer delivery route starting. So instead of you saying, oh, I'm busy working on scheduling, you can say this, like, oh, no, I arrived 2 hours early today. Yes, I'm really busy. Thank you for asking. I had to arrive 2 hours early today to make sure I checked the schedule to make sure that we were all staffed up and confirmed for the 10 a.m. customer delivery routes, right? You would make it more conversational, but you would give them all of that, right? That took all of 10 seconds, if that long, but it gave them some facts that they're going to remember. Okay, she arrived 10 hours early. I mean, 10 hours. She arrived 2 hours early for work, right? Not many people are doing that. And I understand what she's doing. I know why she's here. She's here and she's checking the line to make sure that we are ready to go for the customer deliveries, right? So all of that is impact. All of that is value that you were adding. And that's how we want to have these conversations going forward versus, oh, I'm working, I'm doing a project, I'm busy, and this will help you communicate when you're talking to recruiters and when you're talking to interviewers, or when you just bump into somebody, or you're Zooming, having a coffee chat or a meeting. You can articulate what it is that you do quickly but effectively, right? Because what I said in that 10 seconds clearly has benefits that it gives the company, right? I'm working on, I'm helping with company retention. I am keeping the company's reputation intact. I'm saving the company money because I am making sure that we're in alignment with whatever our contracts say, right? Making sure that we're staffed up appropriately. And I'm making sure that our customers get their delivery on time. So I only said a little bit, but those are all things that I am impacting by what I am doing. Okay. So brag, how I define that is just to be open to consistently share and repeat your value add to your targeted audience while articulating your gift or greatness to demonstrate how you help and serve others, right? Because we know that the career search is not about us, honestly. It's about solving the needs of the organization or the company. But we're going to manage to make sure that it's a fit for us while we are doing that as well. Okay. And again, you'll get this whole thing if you want it. I will give it to Ken, or give it to the link so he can post it and share it with you all. And the way that we do this, the first thing that you do is identify who you are targeting. So think of someone that you want to target. Maybe it's a recruiter, maybe it's a leader, maybe it's a hiring manager. Think of someone that you would be having a quick conversation with. Okay. And we want to target that to that one person, because we're going to make multiple brags. But this first one, I want you to target one person. And then I want you to think about or name a problem that they have that you can help solve. And it can be something that you've previously helped solve, right? So think about that. What would the problem be that you would help solve?
Excuse me, can you enlarge the screen at all? Is that as large as it goes, that picture?
Does it? I don't know. But what I can do, hold on. We don't really. I'll go back to the presentation and explain it there, because that'll be easier. Okay, what do you see now? Do you see the presentation again? Yes, okay.
Yes.
Let me get it back. Okay, so We talked about who are you targeting. So have that person in mind, and then name the problem that you're going to help them solve. This is how you add your value. So what is the problem? And then how can you or how will you help them? What action will you take to help them solve that problem? How is it that you're going to help them? What are you going to do? What steps are you going to take? How are you going to help them solve that problem? And then you put that all together and you should have your first factual brag statement. This is also a way for you to write your bullets on your resume. So if you think about who you're targeting, think about the problem that they have, and think about how you can help them solve that problem. And then once you put it all together, and you can practice, right? You can practice making that statement if you were talking to a recruiter, or making that statement if you were talking to a hiring manager, or making that statement if you were talking to a coworker, because you want the statement to be quick, but you want it to be simple enough that it's repeatable and that they can repeat it correctly. So you want them to be able to take that good information about you and share that information with somebody else. Okay, 1 second, guys. Okay. And one thing that I would want you to do is to remember, I want you to remember that your resume and your LinkedIn profiles are marketing tools, right? They work together um, to help you, but they are important because they're the first impression that people have about you. So if you take this factual brag and if you put those into bullets and you use those for your bullet points on your resume, then that's the perception that people are going to have. That's you teaching them how to see you, but also inside of those conversations, that's you teaching them how to see you. So when you're talking to your family members, when you're talking to your friends, when you're explaining to them what it is that you do as far as your career is concerned, I want you to start using these statements so that they can have an understanding of what it is that you do, so that when they come in contact with somebody who may be looking to hire somebody, they'll think of you. And this whole intentionality and strategy, this is all going to help you with your awareness, your branding, and your credibility, right? This is all something that you can use for your LinkedIn networking when you are connecting with, making new connections on LinkedIn and you're talking to people. These are the statements that you're going to share with them, right? So that it'll help you with the perception, and it'll help you get to where it is that you're trying to get to. And now that first part, before the brag statement, that first part, the first exercises that we did, I want you to go back and look at those. And, when you get time, I want you to start doing your research. If you struggled with completing that activity, or maybe you listed 3 companies, but you haven't yet done your research, I want you to go back and research. I want you to go back and look at that exercise and do that till it gets to a point where you have your strategy, where you know exactly what companies you're targeting, you know exactly what positions you're looking for, you know exactly what roles and responsibilities you want to have inside of those positions. And then you use the brag statement to communicate that. And remember that without strategy, there is no career, right? Gone are the days of quitting a job on Friday and having a job on Monday. Gone are the days of just blindly applying to things, right? There are too many, there are tons of jobs that are available, but there's also too much at stake for us to just randomly apply to things that we truly have no interest in, right? So I want you to get something that you truly are going to be happy doing. And gone are the days that we're just using the same resume without making edits to it, or applying to just every job that we see, right? I'm sure that you've had different speakers, and you know that you have to target our resume, just like we're targeting our search. We target our marketing tools so that we can get the career that we are seeking. Okay. And then basically, that is it. I have a free Facebook group that you're more than welcome to join, which is here if you're interested in it. But I will make sure that you get your factual brag guide so that you can work on that as well. I hope you found this helpful. And if you have any questions, I would love to answer them for you.
Do you want people to maybe put their brag statements or put down their thoughts in the
Oh,
chat?
yes. Yes, I would love that if anybody is open to doing
Anyone,
that.
anyone want to try it out here? Just a brag statement, or
Yes.
think?
Yes, please.
Don't worry, we're all going to be kind. Give it a shot.
Yes.
But I thought that might be really helpful to get everyone interactive.
Yes. Sometimes, get a little nervous, but it's okay. We're only here to
Anything
help.
else? Any other questions you want to ask? I mean, like I said, it's just.
Yep. If you have anything that you want to ask me,
So why don't you brag about how you've been able to multitask this whole thing? She's really.
this is like the new normal. Like
No, absolutely. I mean, it is what it is for sure.
it really is. And you're like, oh, he's quiet at the beginning. He was sleeping. Then 2 seconds in, he was
You want it to be part of the presentation.
right.
Aw. Where can we get your presentation?
I will email. Do you want me to send it to you, Kenan?
Why don't you send it to me, and I'll just post it somewhere else.
Okay.
Okay, and you'll let us know, Ken?
Yeah, absolutely, Lisa.
Thanks.
Um,
Kame, you did a great job on this. I guess, to just give some feedback. I mean, talking about it, bragging, the brag book and stuff like that. I have a question, and it's probably one of the stupidest questions I'm going to ask, but when you're interviewing all these different jobs, and here, let me turn my screen on so you're not staring at my picture. When you're interviewing at all these different jobs and you're saying, find their pain points or whatever, it's pretty hard. Sometimes I'm given a couple, really just like 2 days to prepare. And how do you find out what their pain points are? I read their, I'm in technology, and maybe I'm applying for a job in, migrating a contact center, a new one. So I know what I think their pain points are going to be, but when I go on their websites and whatever, I certainly can't find this information. What do you suggest?
So the very first thing is the job description. Inside of the job description, they should be seeking and they should be writing down what it is they need. So that job description is a key first look into what they need. And then when you go on the interview, you ask when you're talking to a recruiter, because normally sometimes maybe the recruiter you get a phone screen first, right? So you ask them if they know, and sometimes the recruiter may or may not necessarily be able to answer all of your questions. But if you get to the second the hiring manager, then you ask them like you can ask them what will be expected of you in the first 90 days.
Right.
Ask them what are some of the opportunities or challenges. I normally say opportunities, but what are some of the opportunities that they need assistance with, or that they expect this person to help them with, that they can share with you? Because some things they can share, some things they can't share. But you ask them, like, what are your current challenges? What are your current opportunities? If there were two things that you needed me to focus on, or this person in this role to focus on, what would they be and why? Right? Because you want to know like what you're going to get into.
Right. Right. Those are all the things I do. I'm just trying to think if there's something I've missed somewhere that I keep coming to the end and I'm like the second runner up and it's like I'm always the bridesmaid. I'm like, oh, this is not good.
And that, well, you're getting that far, so it's, they probably just came down at that point. It's probably more of a fit more than anything. They're probably just, because clearly you have the experience and everything else. So at that point they're just probably deciding between who they think may fit best culturally, right?
Oh, there's a question here. What do you do if they ask you to supply a 30, 60, 90-day plan prior to the interview?
Yes, it happens. And then that's where you would have to go out and do some research. So maybe if you're looking out, look at the news. Have they been in the news for anything? If they gave you that 30, 60, 90 day, did they also give you a list of topics? Because sometimes it'll come with, we have this problem, we want you to implement something or help us fix something based on these.
No, there was no details. It was basically submit a 30, 60, 90-day plan um, uh, the day before by 5 p.m. I have two questions, actually. I have been doing a lot of research. I've already started to create the presentation. The other little caveat is I've never formally been this title. So I'm learning a lot, which is good. But the other question is timing. I don't want to like submit it at 4:59 the day before. Would it be best to, submit it at like 3 o'clock, or it should be earlier, or could it be around 4 o'clock? Is there any strategy in that case?
Oh, if the time they gave you was 5 o'clock and you need to 3 to get it done, then you can submit it at 3. I wouldn't say do it at 4:59 because then all your technology is going to stop working and everything's it's everything's going to fall apart if you're trying to do it that close to the deadline. But yes, 3 o'clock is fine. As long as you meet the deadline that they gave you. But also, do you know anybody who's in a title like that? Do you know anybody who's
I do. I've been I've been doing like the dog paddle the last 24 hours, and basically, yes, I know what someone inside the company who has the role, and I have a conversation with him at 4 o'clock today.
perfect? Absolutely. And
Right, and
that is your answer. And
okay,
yeah, you ask him everything. Ask him
right, and I also have I interviewed with a manager that interacts with this team, who is actually the person who let me know that the job was available. And I have a call with him this afternoon to get more insight.
awesome. Yeah, so it sounds like you will be prepared and have everything together by the time your stuff is due. But you're doing everything right. You're doing the research, you're connecting, and you are talking to, there's nobody better to talk to than somebody in the role.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? You can raise your hand or you can unmute yourself. It's really up to you guys. If not, I'm happy to, throw some questions out.
What did you think? Did you find this helpful? Did this make you start thinking at all about anything, or were you on the right track already?
All right, I'm going to ask you a question because this happens a lot. When you're interviewing with a person, would you send them a LinkedIn connection request before or after? Or what's the follow-up? It used to be send a nice note afterward or something like that. I mean, is there a different way to do it now?
Well, if you're the person that you're actually interviewing with, like the hiring manager person.
Yeah, let's say it's the hiring manager and you want to connect with them. Would you connect with them before? Would you connect with them after? Would it just be sending them an email, a thank you email, or what would you suggest is the best practice?
I would not. I normally don't connect with them before, but I do go on their LinkedIn and kind of stalk their page, to see
Mm-hmm.
to see so that I can ask good questions, right? Find out what they
Mm-hmm.
like, what they're into, how long they've been in the position at the company, those types of things. And then when I have the conversation with them, I find out how they want to be followed up with, right? because you know, you may get their email address and you may not. They may say, you know, contact me anytime, reach out to me on LinkedIn, or they may not, right? So you want to do what's best, and you don't want them to feel uncomfortable, right? Because they're interviewing with several people, and you don't want them to have to feel like there's any kind of bias, right? If you're already like connected. So um, I just work on how I just work with them how they want to be worked with. And I ask them, you know, what's the best way to connect with you afterwards? Are you open to LinkedIn connections, or, you know, would you prefer an email? Because I've enjoyed our conversation today. I'm very interested in this position and I want to follow up with you.
Well, what happens when I have a question? I had a interview with the director of HR, and she linked it. She sent a LinkedIn request to me, so of course I linked in with her. But she never gave me another chance of another interview. So it's like I wrote to her, never heard. Do I write back again, or do I just say on to the next?
You only wrote her one time?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, I would write her again and say, hey, you know, because maybe she didn't see it, you know. Um, so I would say two times can't hurt. So I would follow back up with her and say, hi, you know, I enjoyed our conversation. And then if she doesn't reply back, just
That's
leave it
it. That's
alone.
it for that company. Okay, got it. Thanks.
And maybe you can ask her for some feedback, right? So maybe maybe you contact her just to say, hey, you know, I interviewed with you. I just wanted to get some feedback on how, you know, how that went, you know, make it like that. Tell her you enjoyed talking to her and do it that way.
What happens if you don't get a job from someone, some company? Can you, like a month down the line, do exactly what you're saying? Write to them and say, you know, I really think it's a great company. It would have been a great fit. Could you give me some feedback and see if they do, or because of HR, they won't? Is that something? I mean, to me, it's what are they going to do? There's nothing they can do other than just not answer.
Right. And I think it depends on the culture of the company, and it also depends on the person.